I've come here to the southern tip of the Nicoya Peninsula to meet my good friend Kevin, who also happens to be an expert in legal financial advice. Now, you travel all over South America and the Caribbean and Central America.
Correct.
If a person was going to move here, what do they have to look out for?
Well, I guess in broad strokes, I would use the 3W test. Who, what, and where. First of all, if you're buying property, who's selling it to you? Are you looking at an established broker, established builder? Are you looking for a plot of land that's been in the family for a long period of time, perhaps hasn't been registered in the property registry, which can cause a whole myriad of concerns as to how you can move forward on it. In terms of what, are you looking at a house? Are you looking at a plot of land that you're going to be building on? Are you going to be looking at, they have different types of condominium developments down here. And then where? Are you looking on the coastal region? Are you looking in the interior area? Are you looking at land that was perhaps zoned differently, maybe agricultural or something like that? All these things will have bearing on what you're doing. In addition to the quality of life that you're going to have down here, you're looking at the value of what you're getting for your money. If you're looking for a sunnier locale, while Americans say traditionally may be looking for Florida or California, when you compare your dollar-to-dollar costs, you're obviously getting more bang for your buck when you're down here.
Right.
I think one of the things that we have to be aware of, and we should take notice of that, you have to be able to rely on the people who should be, who are assisting you in your search. And of course, the basics here, we're looking at the real estate agents themselves and your lawyers. I use an analogy that a couple of years ago, I happened to be in Vancouver, and I went over to Vancouver Island, and they have a very famous bungee jumping area. I don't know if you've ever tried it. Michael, have you done it?
I have done bungee jumping.
Okay, well, you know what it is. Bring a change of underwear, let's put it that way. So anyway, so I went over there, and it struck me that here I am, I'm above the Nanaimo River, and it's 150 feet up. You have somebody there who's your spotter, who's showing you where you're going to be going into, and so they want to make sure that you're comfortable with the process. You have somebody who's assembling the bungee cord around your legs, and that's effectively your legal counsel, because you want them to know that when you jump, because it's scary, you're looking into the abyss there. There's no question about it.
Right.
So the person who's attaching your leg, your lawyer, and then the bungee rope is the infrastructure. Can you rely on the courts within the jurisdiction? So when you do take that leap in the abyss, you know that as much as you can, you've covered as many of the unknowns.
Right.
Now, I will tell you in my case, they completely did it incorrectly, and I went under the water, which made about 200 Japanese tourists with their camcorders exceptionally happy. So I may be a star over there in extreme videos, I don't know. But these are the things you have to be careful about when you're doing that.
Right. So you've decided to buy your property.
Right.
What are the financing implications?
Well, I guess it depends on your circumstances. In a sense, obviously, if you have the resources, you will buy it outright. But I mean, for most people, that's not really a realistic possibility. So in which case, then you're looking from financing from an outside source. Traditionally, people look to banks. You have your indigenous banks, locally incorporated banks whose base of operations is here. And then you will have some foreign banks. And they will have different criteria in terms of how they consider lending to you. The indigenous banks, without getting too technical, will have liquidity issues. I mean, do they have enough capital freed up that allows them under the Basel Accords to go and lend?
Right.
I mean, they might not, because other parts of the market may be affected that dries that up. The international banks, they have country risk. And if some type of political risk makes them feel uncomfortable, then of course then they're going to do it. But there are a number of other opportunities. If you have a good lawyer or good notary, they may know people in the community that have the means that would be willing to finance. You just have to be creative.
And that's where people like you come in, because you have a background in this.
Well, yeah, Michael. I mean, I'm a Canadian called lawyer, the Bar of Upper Canada, for 26 years in good standing. I've worked in the Caribbean specifically for the last 16 years. Professionally, I was international counsel for one of the largest banks in Canada. I was general counsel in Canada for one of the largest US banks. So then 10 years ago, I decided to go out on my own, and I started the first part of the Whitten Capital Group, which was Whitten Trust in Tortola. And Tortola is the leading offshore jurisdiction for company incorporations. There's over 600,000 companies that are incorporated in Tortola.
Wow.
So that was the niche market that we developed to, from which we expanded from.
And what's the advantage of doing that?
Well, there's a lot of advantages. I mean, depends, and these are incredibly difficult questions to answer generally, and I would caution anybody who's considering this to talk to a qualified in their home jurisdiction and the jurisdiction in which they're planning to go to. But there can be tax savings, there can be tax considerations, there can be access to investment products which aren't available on in Canada, United States, or Europe. And what you have offshore is that you will have tax-neutral countries where they have no tax rate. You have tax treaty jurisdictions, such as like Barbados, that has tax treaties behind that can lower your effective tax rates on income that you earn offshore.
Fascinating. But is that only useful for people who really are doing a lot of investments or a lot of financing or making things, or can somebody who's really got quite a small business take advantage of that?
Well, you can. I mean, you're protected by the corporate veil, so you can isolate your assets by having them in different corporate vehicles. And a lot of people have confidentiality concerns. In many countries, safety concerns are an important part of their lifestyle.
Right.
I know. I mean, we may consider ourselves very lucky that we live in jurisdictions where the crime is not really an issue. But there are many where it is, that you don't want your wealth known, and this gives you an opportunity to hide some of that.
Thanks, Kevin. It's been great.
No, my pleasure.
Let's just sit back and relax.
It's a beautiful day for it.